Tiny Leaders Reborn is my favorite Magic format. I've been playing it non-stop for just about 2 years now. Frankly, beyond the occasional draft here and there, and the very rare game of Commander, I've been playing solely TLR every single week. It's a format that I love to bits, and hopefully I can convince you to love it too. Hi, I'm TheCosmerian, and I'm here to convince you to play TLR. This is a sequel to a video FishMTG made just about 4 years ago. If you haven't watched it, I highly recommend you watch it before this video. It goes over the basics and gives you a breakdown of the format from a much more experienced YouTuber. However, it was made 4 years ago, so it's kind of out of date on some things. But it's a start. To those of you who are foolish enough to not heed my directions, here's a quick breakdown of Tiny Leaders Reborn. Tiny Leaders Reborn is a Commander variant format, which means it's a singleton format with a Commander, and follows all the color identity restrictions that come with it. However, there are a few big changes this format has made. Instead of 100 cards, decks are limited to 50 cards, and instead of 40 life, you get 20. Oh yeah, and it's 1v1. Essentially, everything's cut in half. Half the cards, half the life, half the players. Additionally, you get a 10-card sideboard, and games are typically best of 3. And for you CEDH players, yes, there is a restriction on partners, so partner commanders are pretty few and far between. The most important restriction, however, is the mana value restriction. Every card in your deck has to be of mana value 3 or less. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's a lot of restrictions. How can this be better than Commander, a format with hardly any, or even worse, if you're a Legacy player, or used to other competitive formats? Why pick this over formats with even less restrictions than even Commander? And to that I tell you, that's why I'm here. Given I'm trying to convince 2 different player bases, let's tackle them one at a time. As a Commander player, I'll start with what I know. Commander is a lovely format, and it's the most popular format for a reason. But it has its downsides. Long games, painfully large decks, inconsistency from said gigantic decks, and never having a happy pod, just to name a few. While TLR doesn't solve all the problems with EDH, it sure does solve a lot of them. First, and possibly most important, is that deck building restrictions breed creativity. When you're building a Commander deck, and you have to sort through 30,000 cards to make a deck, filtering that might be nice. With a restriction of only cards of mana value 3 or less, your options already drop to half that much, and that's not even factoring in color identity. To me, that change was really refreshing. Plus, half the deck size is huge. That means less shuffling, less time spent deck building, and way higher consistency. Odd strategies are way easier to make, as you only need around 4 cards to make a solid synergy, instead of the 6 to 10 you need in Commander. And because of the 1v1 20-life games play way faster, and the best of 3 provides less opportunity for variance. And you know aggro, that thing that really doesn't exist in Commander? It's really good in TLR. Boros, which is frankly a laughingstock in EDH, is possibly the best color combination in Tiny. One of the most interesting points to me is that the gameplay is just nice and snappy. No dead early turns. With a simple curve, you're pretty much always going to have something to do, which feels really nice. Now, TLR isn't without its flaws. 1v1 doesn't replace a 4-player format, and we sure as hell aren't trying to. Now, if you really want that, there's nothing stopping you from playing it with more than 2 people. The ban list was made for 1v1 gameplay, but that just means you have less cards to worry about on the ban list. TLR isn't a replacement for EDH, but wow does it help with some of the more annoying parts of EDH for me. Now, for you Legacy players, or frankly anyone used to higher powered competitive formats, let's address you guys. TLR has been my first competitive experience, so I'm not the best person to talk about this, but that's what friends are for. Now, what's in it for competitive folks? One of the biggest draws to Legacy or Modern players is that TLR is still high powered, but without all those absurdly powerful cards. A hard mana value cap at 3 is so nice, because that means there's no One Ring, Shieldred, or Darned Delve cards to worry about. All those absurd reanimate targets, like Atraxa and Archons, not a problem. Plus, all those pesky free spells, funnily enough, have pretty high mana values. Force of Wills and Evoke Elementals are nothing to worry about, and even Dread Return is just a non-issue. Sure, you still have some problem cards, but they get majorly nerfed by the mana value and singleton restriction. And looking at our ban list, a lot of the remaining problem cards are either non-issues or already dealt with. Busted Monarch card? Gone. The Initiative? No need to worry about it. However, cards like Deathrite, Misstep, and Gataxian Probe? Actually quite alright. Turns out a singleton restriction makes them a lot worse. Same deal with U-Breach and Renaissance, but those are still absolute houses in the format. All this is to say the format feels like old Legacy. Interactive gameplay, with plenty of back and forths, but without your opponent winning turn 1 or 2. There are threats, but none of them are insurmountable. And plus, the Dasher Commander really helps games feel really different, but also nicely synergistic. Having a Commander available at all times helps hold a deck together, and the singleton deck building restrictions helps each game feel different than the last. While it's not a replacement for more standard competitive formats, it certainly is a breath of fresh air if you're sick of all the unfair, fast-paced non-games of more established formats. And now, the million-dollar question. Is this a real format? Are there players and events with any semblance of popularity? The answer to that question is yes. Over on the official Tiny Leaders Discord, there are plenty of avid Tiny players. We host monthly leagues, where there's generally between 20 and 30 players. We also have a second server, where I host weekly round-robin tournaments. There's also a bunch of active paper communities all around the world. While it isn't a huge format by any stretch of the imagination, it is still very much a real format. And if you want to get started, head on over to our Discord. We have hundreds of decks folks have built, and a very welcoming community. Seriously, all we want is new players. So we are more than happy to help you find something you like. I'll see you over there, and stay tiny.